If you're listening, hello. If you're watching someone who's never played Minecraft, play it before. Anyways, people at work say I should do recordings. I should do things with my voice. They say that I'm funny or that I tell stories really well. So I'm just going to take their advice for it and go ahead and use my voice. So today's topic is actually going to be autism and dating. So I am in my early 30s, and just recently, my relationship of 11 years kind of fell apart. There's reasons for that, but that's a topic for perhaps like another video or something. Um, so basically, I've been trying to date, and it's really really rough. Because I guess one thing I didn't really know is how difficult dating would be. As someone who's autistic, I really didn't really understand that it would be hard for me. And the reason why for that is because, like, I first met my partner when she was 20 and I was 20, right? And at the time, online dating was very, very different from how it is now. I kind of exclusively online date just because, like, I'm not really good at going out and doing a bunch of socializing. I am definitely not one of those people that's like, a neat, doesn't know how to clean myself, all that sort of stuff. I have good social skills, especially for an autistic person. At least I thought I did. But when it came to dating, I quickly found out that that's not the case. So I exclusively date online because it's easier for me to meet people and I can kind of filter people out like immediately. And I know that they are available to be dating. And I know that sounds crazy. You're like, what do you mean? Well, when I think of like meeting someone out like in public, right? Um, that's great and all, and it's nice, but I don't know if they're single. I have no idea if they're looking to be in a relationship. They could be single and they could be happy and they don't want anyone barking up their tree, right? Totally, totally possible thing, you know what I mean? So when I'm on a dating app, like I know that the people there are looking for some type of relationship, right? Whether it's the same type of relationship that I'm looking for, well, that's to be found out later. But I at least know that they're not looking to be single. So I'm not barking up the wrong tree. So I see online dating as an easy thing because I'm not exactly intimidated socially about it. It's just I don't get a lot of joy and personal, like, fulfillment out of socializing with people, and it's really hard to describe that to people that aren't autistic, and even if you are autistic, you just might not be like me. Everyone that's autistic has different types of, you know, needs, flavors, whatever you may call it. Their brand of autism is not the same as mine. So when I think of dating, I think of it as a daunting thing going out in public and meeting others just because it's not fun to me, and it always feels awkward and just not normal. And that's probably partially because I'm not very like I don't enjoy socializing with other people a whole lot. I kind of prefer to go to work, keep to myself, do my job, and go home, and that's just kind of what I like to do. I enjoy doing other activities like when I get home. Like I like gaming, I like hiking, things like that. But the hobbies that I enjoy, yes, there's groups for them, and yes, there's support groups, but it's not my thing, and it just feels awkward, right? If I go to an event and it's not meant for dating, I could be barking up the wrong tree, or I could meet someone. I can meet a woman and we could get along really well, but she just might not be looking for anybody at the moment, and that's totally fine. But if I was looking to meet a partner, right, and that was my primary goal, then I quote unquote wasted my time, right? Now you could say that it's not wasted because you made a friend, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, at the point where I'm at, and at the stage of life that I am, I'm looking to meet someone because I need, well, not need, but I want a partner, right? I'm not really looking to make any more friends. I'm looking to meet new people and see where it goes and go from there, right? And see if it can develop into, you know, friendship that moves into dating and et cetera, right? Not looking to jump into anything. So I myself was thinking that online dating was the best thing for me. So that's what I did, right? So I hopped on multiple apps. I'm on Hinge, Bumble, etc. And I I don't know how much research most people do in online dating, but there's a lot of things that you can do wrong. And the most common thing you can do wrong is not having decent pictures of yourself. You don't have to be some kind of amazing person, right? You don't have to like have super set up photos or have your friends take amazing looking pictures or be doing crazy things, right? Just have a picture or two of you spending time with family or friends, one of you dressing decent, don't have a bunch of shirt off pictures or holding a fish. And that's already a lot more than most people do. So I spent a good amount of time getting my profile ready and making sure that it looked decent. And I have not had trouble getting matches. Let me put it out there like this. I don't actually have not had trouble getting matches or getting conversations going. Um, I am not the would say the most good looking guy, but I'm definitely not like, I wouldn't think that I'm unattractive by any means. And I've got a pretty decent personality. And I think that works really well for me. So I've had no problem getting matches. The problem comes into communication with the matches. And that's where I'm realizing that I have difficulties that other people just don't have. And it's kind of hard to describe, and it might sound a little bit silly, but let me describe it like this. I don't even understand what flirting is. Like as a concept, I don't understand what flirting is, and I don't even understand how to do it. I literally don't. I mean, obviously, like most men, you can be flirted with and like not know that you're being flirted with, but I I could be told by a woman that they're flirting with me, and I wouldn't really know how to, like, play back into it. Um, and this has resulted in some strange scenarios where they're, like, showing interest, and I don't know how to show interest back to them in the right way. The right way. And I emphasize the right way because in a world such as this, where a lot of people are neurotypical, and it's not meant as a derogatory term, it's just meant as the status quo, the standard, right? These rules and these things are kind of unwritten. They exist, and you're kind of expected to know how to flirt, all that sort of stuff, right? You just learn how to do it. I never learned how to flirt because I kind of skipped that whole stage. I went to high school, I had a girlfriend, um, and then I moved when I was 20 years old, came back to where I was at 21 and the current state I live in. And then I met my ex, and that was that. We met each other online and we were together for 11 years. So from 21 to 31, basically, I had one partner. I never had to do the dating thing. I don't have a lot of experience in dating. So I didn't really get that experience to know how to flirt, how to communicate really well, how to even show interest, etc. Um, so here's some of the difficulties that I've had. And you're feel free to add to the comments, but honestly, don't add anything if you don't want to. I'm not asking you to like give me advice because realistically, I've done a lot of research into this and I think I've solved a lot of my problems, but it's still fun to talk about, right? So here's the first problem that I would say that I have. Um, I don't know how to flirt. And for me as an individual, showing interest is me continuing to have conversation with you throughout the day a lot. I love to have conversation constantly. I love it. It's really what makes me thrive as an individual. If you can talk to me, majority of the day, I'm a pretty happy camper because I have someone to talk to. I can share my thoughts, my feelings, etc., or just my day, and that makes me bond with people really well. Um, I have found that I've had many, many, many instances where, um, well, maybe not many, but I've had a couple instances where I have had people lose interest. And I was told once that I just didn't make a move. And for me, that was strange because for me as a person, um, there's two ways to look at this. There is, hey, you should ask someone out on a date after talking to them for a day. And I think that's the more common viewpoint that people have when it comes to online dating. I don't have that viewpoint. And the reason why I don't is because I talked to my ex for 3 months and we lived 20 minutes apart. before we actually met and went on our first date. But after that first date, we already knew we wanted to be together because it went really well and we enjoyed seeing each other, and that was enough because we had talked for several months. We knew each other pretty well by then. For me at this point, and the age that I am, I know exactly what I'm looking for in a partner. I know exactly what I want. I know what a long-term relationship is like. I know, what that takes, that not every day is exciting. Some days are dull and boring, and that's just life, right? But there's some beauty in that, and there's good things in that. So whenever I meet someone with online dating and they expect to be meeting in like the first day or so, that's really daunting for me. That's or at least schedule it, right? That's daunting for me. Meeting someone is very, very anxiety inducing for me. I don't know why. I don't know how to describe it because it's not like, you know, I don't know how to behave or I think something's wrong with me. I find it to be an uncomfortable process, you know what I mean? I find it uncomfortable. I have to think about how I'm sounding, how I'm looking. Do I look attractive enough? Am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? Am I moving weird? There's a lot of factors involved with it. And maybe people that are neurotypical don't think about all of that stuff. Maybe they were just concerned with looking nice. Um, but I'm concerned with a lot of those things, right? And a lot of that pressure fades away if I know someone well. If I talk to someone for several weeks to a month, I would say I know them pretty decently. At that point, we've covered a lot of the important stuff. We've covered kids, we've covered hopes, dreams, fears, maybe had a conversation regarding intimacy. And I know those things and I have all those subjects covered. So there's not much for me to be nervous about because I know they like me. I know they do because we talked for so long, right? And that's the preferred speed that I have with dating. That's my speed. And I've been told that a lot of women expect you to plan something, within a couple days of talking to them. And to me, that's not something that I find to be advantageous to me as an individual because I can filter you out really, really well. If I spend a couple like days or so talking to you, at that point we've covered work, maybe basic stuff, right? Food, music, whatever you want to call it. But if I've talked to you for several months, I know at that point if we are going to be compatible long term based upon personality. I just do. I mean, if you've talked to someone for several weeks, like several months, you would think you know them to some degree to where you can at least make a snap judgment that if I go on a date with this person, as long as it's not crazy weird in person, we're probably going to end up dating and get along, right? That's the way I prefer to do things. That's not how modern dating works, I don't think. And that's one difficulty that I've discovered is that the pacing at which people expect things does not match my internal pacing and what I find comfortable. Um, One other thing I've had difficulty with is specifically with um, communication in conversations. Um, I don't, it's a message. So obviously, I'm being messaged by somebody. I can take as much time as I want, right? But I read a lot into pacing of conversations and frequency of conversations because myself, I'm very out of pocket. Like I'm pretty online. So you can get a hold of me at pretty much any time, even when I'm at work. I will text you back pretty commonly and pretty frequently because that's just who I am, right? I'm pretty much available constantly. And I know that other people are not like that, right? So to me, it's really hard when I have conversations and the frequency just does not line up with something that I find to be comfortable. Um, Something like maybe we only message a couple times a day. And that doesn't give me a lot of opportunity to get to know somebody, let alone feel comfortable enough to invite them out on a date. Um, but so what, right? There's reasons behind that. I don't know if any of the listeners here have ever seen what it's like or know what it's like to be a woman on a dating app, but I can tell you because I've done an experiment myself, it's very overwhelming. The amount of matches that women get is obscene. And I made a gender bent profile of myself did not reach out to anybody. And I got like at least 3 to 4 matches an hour. It was very overwhelming. If I imagined myself as a woman looking to meet someone, I could not respond thoughtfully to all of those conversations. It was impossible to keep up with. It was extremely stressful how often my phone was dinging, let alone imagining that all of these are eligible people and I have to give effort to respond to all of them and not like give them half-assed stuff. I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it. Um, so that's one thing that I ran into is I have trouble with conversational frequency. In addition to that, um, I have trouble with how to navigate the conversations. You know what I mean? Because for me as a person, I don't take a lot of time to switch up to just normal daily conversation. What are you up to? What you doing? What's for lunch today? Blah blah blah, like stuff like that. Um, that's fine with me. That's stuff that is kind of entertaining, but I also am good with deep philosophical conversations or even like life conversations. Like I'm okay knowing someone's life story with only knowing them for a day or two. It teaches me a lot about them. I learn about the things they've been through. I learn about things that make them upset, things that make them happy, things they strive for, right? That gives me real information that lets me learn about them as a person, what I may like about them as a partner, a potential partner, right? But not a lot of people like to have conversations like that. And also on top of that, they also prefer to not have this coincides with number one, like a texting buddy. They want someone who asks them out pretty quickly. And I think perhaps that's because some people just want to feel good or feel validated and will waste someone's time and never have intention of taking it further. So, someone like me who wants to take the time, but if I'm taking the time to keep talking to you, it's because you're the only person I'm talking to, because we've been talking for several days or more, and I know that you're sticking around. And I want to take the time to get to know you and be comfortable taking you out somewhere, right? Um, I have manners as a guy. I kind of understand the paying for a date thing, but at the same exact time, we're taking each other out. You're evaluating me as a partner. I'm evaluating you as a partner. I'm more of a 50-50 person. But some people expect to be paid. They expect flowers on the first date, things like that. And for me as an individual, I it's not that you're not worth it as a person because that's horrible to say. Everyone's worth being respected and treated, with respect, right? Everyone's worthy of that. But with all, due respect and a minimum, I don't know you that well. I don't exactly feel comfortable as a single guy shelling out 60, 70, $100 on a date if you count flowers and dinner and maybe a dessert or something and a drink or two. I don't feel comfortable shelling that out for someone that potentially could be okay. Or I could go out with them and they could not feel me out, which is fine, right? That's part of dating. If we go on a date and you don't like you're not getting along with me, at least on like a I don't think we could be together type of thing, cool. The same thing could happen to me with you. But it's a weird expectation that I have to pay for everything and um it might not lead anywhere. And I'm not owed anything, right? I'm not owed anything, and I'm very aware of that as a person. No one is owed anything. It's just a trial run. But it sucks on the wallet. And I'm not comfortable doing that kind of thing, shelling it out repeatedly for what could be a very long process, right? I might need to go on many, many dates to find out if someone is a good fit. Or I could not spend any money, talk to them for several weeks to a month or so, and really get to know them so that I know when I'm taking them out on a date, I already really like them and they already really like me. So there's not much of a question beyond how do we hang out in person? Are we doing pretty good? But the chemistry is already there. I've confirmed the chemistry. We've talked. There's not much else to do but see each other, right? Um, so that's one confusion that I've had is that my timelines and expectations don't match up well with things. Um, one of the other things that I've encountered that really have made me upset is ghosting. Now, I can tell you as an individual, I have never ghosted somebody as an adult. I've never done it. I don't do it. Multiple reasons why, which I could get into, but I don't think it's good practice, and I think it's kind of mean to do. So I don't do that. When I was younger and I was doing online dating, it was more of a niche thing, right? It was more of a niche thing. And this was back in like 2011, 2012, right? Online dating was starting to become sort of popular, but it was still stigmatized. Like saying I met someone online was like, you kind of didn't want to say that because it was still seen as a little strange. Um, People didn't really ghost online because the people that were online were the kinds of people who spent more time on the internet than others and were more into that subculture and more intentional. They were intentionally dating. They didn't exactly find the in-person thing to be feasible or enjoyable. So they navigated to be online, made their profiles, and they intended to spend time talking to people. And it was their primary avenue for meeting other individuals. So they took it seriously. And ghosting wasn't super common. I do not recall how many times I've been ghosted previously when I was younger. And I don't think I even was ghosted when I was younger. Um, I don't think I was, right? So for me now, I can count that I have been ghosted about 10 to 15 times. And this is out of like, well, I don't really know how many matches I've had, but it's a fair number. Um, Probably not more than 30. And this is over, I would say about a couple months. Now, all of these ghosting scenarios have really sucked because being autistic, I don't have feedback. There's no feedback on what I did wrong or if I even did anything wrong, right? I don't know if I did something incorrect, if I said the wrong thing, if I was too enthusiastic, not enthusiastic enough, if I asked them on a date fast enough, if I asked them out too soon. I don't know what I did wrong, if anything. It's possible that I did nothing wrong, right? Maybe she's talking to some other guys and they maybe jive with her better, right? They get along better. But I don't know that. If you don't tell me anything, I I can only assume it's me, right? I mean, that's for as me as a person being anxious, but also like being autistic. I only assume that I did something wrong. I didn't do something right. And probably in reality, that's not the case, right? In reality, more than likely, I didn't do something incorrect. It's just that's just the truth. They were either there for validation, they're overwhelmed because they didn't expect to get so much attention. There's other people that they, were more interested in. Life got busy, whatever, right? They got sick. Like, there's so many explanations for why someone may quit talking. I can't attribute it to just me, but that's my first instinct is to think that I did something wrong. And for me, it's really hurtful because I I want to improve, right? I want to learn how to communicate better and how to get along with other people better. And that's a learning process, but I can't learn if I don't have any information or feedback on what I did incorrectly, right? Or even if I did. So all I'm left wondering is, what did I do wrong? And is it something that I should fix for next time? Or did I do nothing wrong? You know? And that's confusing. But to me, it's also really baffling that people do that and don't have consideration for how other people may feel. Now, you know, when I've thought about this, I've kind of realized that perhaps it's because other people are uncomfortable and want to avoid the conversation. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. I don't know how to pause recording. They're uncomfortable and they don't know how to kind of do those things, right? Maybe they don't have the tool set. Maybe it's not in their nature to say, "Hey, you're a cool guy. I'm sure there's a great fit out for you. There's a great fit out there for you, but I'm not exactly feeling, the vibe or whatever, right? I'm not feeling it. You seem pretty cool. I hope you find what you're looking for." Maybe they don't have that in their toolkit and they don't know how to say those things. I do. I have told people that I think they're lovely, they're a nice woman, but, I don't feel like our conversation is going the way that I expect someone who could be a potential partner. And almost always, universally, I've gotten very positive responses. I've been told, "Thank you. You're a nice guy too. Thanks for letting me know. I wish you well," etc. And that's honestly very positive for me. It makes me feel really good because I usually get good feedback. I usually get compliments, and those, as a guy, that's very infrequent that we get compliments. So it makes me feel really nice to be told that I was a good conversationalist or something, right? But when I don't get that same kind of feedback and I just get ghosting, it's disheartening because I'm I'm left guessing, what did I do wrong? If I did anything wrong, right? Um, Part of that could be because if you're a guy, perhaps you're a little unfamiliar. Um, I have mostly women as friends because I just get along with women better. Maybe it's because I'm autistic, I don't know, but I don't really do sports and I don't do guns and hunting and stuff. Um, Not even speaking politically here, right? It's not my thing. So that being the standard of things that a good amount of guys enjoy, like in the office and things like that, it's hard for me to make guy friends because the things that they enjoy, like sitting around and drinking beer, watching sports, things like that, it's not my thing. But I can get along with women better because they don't see those as topics. They're more chill talking about their day, things going on in their life, or things coming up. And that's something that anybody can talk about. There's other reasons why I'm friends with women more in the office, but that's not really part of this episode. So if you're not familiar with women, a lot of women get crazy, crazy harassment and reactions from guys. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. Um, the behavior that people exhibit. Like guys will follow a woman who has told them they're not interested. They will follow her to a grocery store or something and confront her and act like they are entitled to conversation with them or they're entitled to going on a date or their number or something. Or I've seen women try to do the nice thing and say, "Hey, you're a cool dude, but I'm not feeling it." And they will respond by calling her names, calling her a slut, all sorts of things, saying she's fat, saying she's ugly, and it's crazy. But unless you're a woman where you've had experience with it or you have like girls as friends, you don't really know about it because it sounds far fetched. Especially if you're someone like me who would not do those things. When you hear about them, it's like there's no way. You don't believe it at first, right? Because you haven't experienced it. But if you have friends that are girls or you look up videos and stuff, it is a very common thing. So part of me can't help but wonder is maybe the reason I don't get feedback is because they're afraid of that kind of response, or don't want to deal with it. And it's easier to just not do that at all, right? And assume that the guy will just get the hint and not like message them, which I do, right? Like if I get ghosted and I haven't heard from them in a day or so, I'll send a follow up and I'll say something like, "Hey, I've been enjoying talking, just checking in, seeing how your weekend was going or something, right? I've been enjoying talking, etc." And if I don't hear from them, then I don't talk to them. I don't continue to speak to them, right? Because like at that point, if they wanted to respond to me, they would, and I can only assume that because I would do the same. Um, but yeah, that's some of the stuff and difficulties I've dealt um, with dating as an autistic person is there's a lot of unwritten social rules and ways of communicating and when to do things, when to ask out on a date, how to do it, how to flirt. That is just really confusing to me as a person. And I've done a lot of research into this. I had to research what how conversations go. I've had to talk to some women and see what they expect, and it's a learning process, and it's really strange to say you're learning how to date at 32. It's strange because it kind of sounds like like cooking, right? Like it's a skill you should know how to do. So you feel a little left out because you kind of wonder, where did my development stop? And shouldn't I know this stuff? And you feel bad because you feel like you should know these things. You should know how to date people. You should know how to flirt, but it's just not something that you ever learned how to do. So you're kind of stuck knowing that something is wrong and having to research like just basic stuff, how to fix it. And it's a strange thing. I've learned a lot over the past couple of months with meeting people. Um, and I can honestly say that it's been for the better. It's revealed some of my flaws with conversation, but it's definitely helped me expand my toolkit with how people communicate and how to connect better with others. Um, and it's definitely taught me how to um, maybe take rejection better and things like that. Not that previously I took rejection bad in terms of getting angry, but I would take it hard as a person. I would be upset because I was not attractive enough. I wasn't cool enough. I wasn't this. I wasn't that. Instead of just saying that, they weren't for me. And that one person's trash is another person's treasure, right? I may not be a good fit for that person, but the next one, maybe I am. Maybe I'm perfect for them, right? You don't know these things. Um, but this is just, a quick, maybe it's quick, a quick conversation on some of the stuff I've dealt with over the past couple months. Um, I'm not going to tell you to like, comment, and subscribe. That's weird. I'm not going to do that. You know, feel free to give feedback if you want. Um, you don't have to be like super nice about it. You can say, "Hey, your recording kind of sucked, or you rambled too much, or you talked too fast," and like that's fine. Go ahead and do that. Um, but I'm not going to put a bunch of effort into this to start at a minimum. I kind of want to see if there's even reception for this, like if people like listening to me talk, because there's people that like will, as friends, they'll beef you up. You know what I mean? They'll say, "Oh, you're great at talking. Do this, do that," but like they're just being your friend, right? And I don't know that. I only know that if I just like take the leap and do it. And this is definitely out of my element. I'm used to just like talking to my phone and recording something when I'm talking to a friend, never ever knowing that other people are going to hear this. Um, so feel free to like kind of like just tell me it sucked, tell me it was great, tell me you enjoyed listening. I mean, great background noise while you're at work, whatever it is. Whether you're autistic or not, it doesn't matter to me. Feel free to offer your experiences with dating, whatever it is. And if you're still listening, I hope you have a good day, a good weekend, whenever you're listening, a good morning, good night, whatever time zone you're in. If you're on another planet, um, don't invade Earth. I would appreciate that. And if you're going to invade, please do some really cool stuff.